illusion when the consciousness or the vision of human beings changes from inner reality and external reality to illusion.
Maya, is, they say, is illusion. But actually our biggest illusions are selfishness, and selfishness brings a violence.
But the biggest problem we're all going to face is seeing our truth. Because in the dimension we're going into, it's clarity, just clarity, no veil. We can no longer hide from ourselves.
Maya, also known as the five vices: ego, lust, anger, greed, attachment. As we see what is going on in the world, day by day, the atmosphere, whether around India, whether in other parts of the world, tension has been increasing. The number of nuclear weapons has gone up in the world.
Some of us will die rather than face our truth.
Most people feel something's going to happen in the world. I think a lot of people have a sense that the world is at a time of transition. And if you look at surveys of young people, it's very interesting. I've seen many surveys of young people all over the world. They don't see much future.
Dinosaurs, supposed to have existed in the early ages of creation, are also described as the animals which survived and were deformed under the influence of radiation after a nuclear war. In the Golden Age, the sun, moon and stars were constantly lit. The elements of matter were in perfect order and worked as instruments of happiness. The character of the people was divine, and their religion was peace and non-violence. It was the land of immortality and the garden of Allah. The knowledge declaring that the era lasted 2,500 years takes us to Bharat, which is known as India today. This perfect land existed in Bharat, the ancient India, according to some Indian holy sources. We can also find some other details, such as the size of people's bodies, which were larger, and they only ate natural, uncooked food. On the other hand, myths claim that it was the land called the continent Mu, or Atlantis, located in the Atlantic Ocean.
For instance, we will not need transportation vehicles. We just transport ourselves, we just teleport. That's going to make life a lot easier, but not the very next day. It takes a while for our bodies to lighten up to where we can teleport from here to California in just like 1 second.
Wherever it was, in time, people have forgotten that they were spirits and believed that they were bodies, the costumes they had taken on.
This body is my chariot, my vehicle, and I, the soul, am the driver of this vehicle. Because I had amnesia, I forgot myself. It then means that my eyes see the wrong things, that the driver has to be in charge of this vehicle and be the one that's going to manage all the physical senses.
My sense of identity, who I was. Because really when you think about it, how can you live your life without really knowing clearly who you are?
The myths explain an adventure of a cycle of time with a beginning and an end. Surprisingly, it resembles the assertions of today's science. Albert Einstein is considered the first human being in history combining these two different poles. The theory of relativity, which is the cornerstone of today's quantum physics, puts forward an idea that time is something that shrinks. Therefore, time and the physical world may just be an illusion.
There is no truth except what feels true inside of you.
We contain the universe inside of us.
In the fourth dimension, time starts to shrink. Many people call the fourth dimension time. It might be like that. I haven't seen it exactly like that, but what I've seen is time starts to shrink until we go into no time. In the fifth dimension, there will be no time. We will only be living the now.
The shaman or the medicine man, medicine woman would actually change energetically, appear to change shape energetic. So they would take on the energy of maybe an animal or a bird.
The problem that humans have with reality is that they believe it is real.
Scientists also insist on a beginning of time and creation. Although it seems that it contradicts the concept of eternity in metaphysical belief systems, in fact, it is the same opinion in consideration with every cycle of time that has a beginning and an end. It comes from infinity and goes to infinity. Consequently, there is no past or future, and nothing created can be demolished.
There are three things which are eternal: the Supreme Being, the human beings, human souls, and this corporeal world which we call the Mother Earth. They are all eternal. The stars are eternal.
There will be no age in the fifth dimension because nothing ages. We're going to stop at whatever age we want to be, and we can live like that for hundreds of years. And then whenever we're ready, whenever we said, okay, I've learned enough from this dimension, I'm ready to go on, or I've learned enough from this body, I want another body, then we will leave the body and go on and move on to another dimension, another reality.
Remember, every one of us was there in the beginning of time. The huge white light. We were inside of it. We were intoxicated by His love. Then we decided to leave to the far lands. We felt the sadness and the hunger of being without Him as we went further. We wanted to find ourselves by loss and illumination of being polluted. We searched for Him in every shadow of sorrow and darkness of pain.
Many cultures have fictions that the treasures lost are the spiritual wealth with which a soul entered for the very first time. The story of the souls in time is a story of the loss of their original greatness.
We flew on and entered the world of space. Expect that this planet was in virgin condition. Seas of deep blue, islands lush with greenery, and unimaginable gorgeous flowers. We realized it was more wonderful even than our wildest dreams.
All actors come from the sweet home of silence or the soul world, and we all descend to play our roles.
This is a show, this is a game, this is a theater, this is a movie, this is not reality.
The atmosphere prevented them functioning as they could in their own world. Telepathic communication would be more difficult there, and their powers of teleportation would not work with elements of matter as they did in their world of light. To function down there, they would need spacesuits. The second urgent need for these souls was shelter. Then they built several houses using the most common building material, which was pure gold. That is the reason why the era was named as the Golden Age in some sources, and we view golden temples in illustrations referring to heaven or the Golden Age. The cycle then enters its second quarter, which is called the Silver Age. Even though it was still the land of happiness, the alloy of silver has been mixed into matter which had been golden in its quality. The residents of the era built their houses with this mixed building material. The idea that there might have been a natural disaster in this period takes us to another part of the world this time, Egypt. The scriptures explain that those who survived after this natural event came down to the Middle East, where they faced the fact that nothing would be the same again. They thought they had a mission to leave some knowledge to the following generations. They turned to the sky where they came from. they tried to give a message by building the Sphinx pointing to the sky and the three-dimensional pyramids.
The star nations, and they very much acknowledge that there are other beings and other spirits from other worlds. I think it's quite an egotistical human perspective to think that we are the only ones in this big wide universe.
I really get in touch with the person who's asking the questions. I get in touch with their higher self, the rest of their soul, and that's how I answer the question. Or, because in the fifth dimension we will be working and communicating with people from other planets, I also get in touch with people from other planets.
The world stage was undergoing a kind of transition and moved to a third act called the Copper Age. This was the age of commerce, bargaining and wars, a time of merchants and soldiers. The human being realized the most bloody wars and cruelty in the world's history. This was followed by the arrival of some Sufis such as the Mevlana Rumi and Yunus Emre, and the founders of the world's religions who brought messages as supports for the world. When Abraham, Buddha, Christ and Muhammad came, their dynasties also followed them gradually onto earth from the incorporeal region, and they all gave the same common message that real war was not the war outside but the war inside.
Whether I'm Muslim or Buddhist or Hindu or Christian, I feel behavior is the mirror of the closeness to God.
What I really like about shamanism is it never says if you are a Christian, Muslim, Jew, whatever your religion, it never says you have to decide. If you choose shamanism, you have to exclude your religion. It encompasses your own religion, if you have a religion, and therefore, to me, it only helps to deepen your faith and your belief.
Spiritual path or religion, then they think that they have the prerogative or the privilege, and so they start to think they're better than others.
The division between races, religions, cultures, on the basis of color of skin, on the basis of gender, age. There's many different types of discrimination that comes into our behavior.
If you take all religions, all spiritual practices back to the very core, it's one of the same thing.
The present time, the Iron Age, which is the last quarter in the cycle, is also known as total darkness. Happiness vanishes and is replaced by sorrow. The age has many different names: the sinful world, hell, and the land of sorrow.
As the time passed, slowly and slowly, people became more and more conscious about the physical, about the environments around them, and about their limited relationships.
It is believed that this time, which is the end of the Iron Age, is also a transition period, and it is known that many people today have left the reality of the third dimension outside and now perceive the reality of the fourth dimension by purifying themselves through their spiritual study.
Many people are already in the fourth dimension. The fourth dimension is exactly like the third dimension. It's just that you know more. You know that you have a higher self. You know you have angels. You know there are other dimensions that exist. You know that there are people on other planets or life on other planets.
We just study and then we practice and then we earn an income.
practice और कमाई तीनों इकट्ठी है.
And here the study, the practice and the income, spiritual income, all things happen at the same time.
Wonderful university है ना.
This is a wonderful university.
I'm always out there, like out there meaning not in the real world, not in the third dimensional world.
Just being on a level of different vibration, a vibration of very good feeling actually.
The more you know about other worlds, the more difficult it becomes to live in this world.
I really wasn't. In fact, I was so shocked by what seemed to be happening within me though I thought I was kind of a bit crazy.
As soon as I started seeing things, I said, there's no way this could be my mind.
I had so many depths in it that I still are still finding more depth in it and more ways to apply it in my personal life.
The whole energy, the whole vibration becomes different.
When I began to experience the reality that I'm something more than a physical body, my whole thinking changed. My whole internal life began to transform.
Leaving the physical world behind, which is named as the land of sorrow, is the first step in order to reach out to this different way of perception, because there are two opposite poles in the material world. Anything sensed as happiness is condemned, giving sorrow in time.
You won't find many people who enjoy so much of peace or happiness in life. Very short time for happiness, mostly suffering.
These said people keep their psychological balance by not being affected by either of the poles. They call this status as being a detached observer or being unshakable.
Magical events that made me feel that I was being guided. Personal transformation. I'd been changing many things in my life from the outside.
Meditation and vegetarian nourishment are the main techniques enabling to keep the frequency of the fourth dimension in the physical world.
It is here that we become healthy and wealthy and happy.
बड़ी अंदर कमाई महसूस हो रही है.
We're able to experience earning a huge income.
कर्म क्या करने का है वो समझ भी मिलती है, कर्म करना सिखलाते भी है.
We receive understanding of what it means to perform right actions, and then we are able to teach others that.
The study here is we study knowledge for the future, how to behave and act, but we meditate to clear the debt of the past. Because it's like each human soul is wandering around carrying their karmic story in their subconscious.
I start with meditation at 4 o'clock, and then I go to have some rest again, and then I go to have meditation at the small center where I live near, and then we have some class and reading text, and we discuss something, and then at mostly 8:30, 7:30, I'm back home to have breakfast, and then I go for work, and then in the evening I have some meditation.
One effect is here you are getting a spiritual knowledge, and the other side is you can have practical proof by meditation. So if you experience some of these knowledge in practice, it's a sort of proof on a personal level which encourages you to move ahead in this direction. So I have very beautiful experience in meditation.
The beauty of meditation is it does anchor me into the awareness of who I am really. And actually my own experience was my whole, as I was saying, thinking began to cool down, and rather than feeling the world controlling my mind, it was like I was just like a victim of so many thoughts and influences. I began to take more control of my own thinking and create the thoughts I want. Not only the thoughts, but the feelings I wanted in my mind. It was like taking back control of my life where I felt I'd lost control of my life.
Spend time with myself, and that's what we're calling time for silence, time for meditation, time for reflection. And in that I'll be able to see what's going on in my mind.
We're actually practicing to get into a state of consciousness that we should really become so used to being in that we take it with us into our everyday life.
जैसे जादू का काम हो जाता है.
And actually it's as if miracles happen, magic happens.
But if you are vegetarian, your third eye is clearer. You can see the images clearer.
Vegetarian food will nurture the cells in a right way. So one is from, of course, health point of view, in that freshness, but also I feel that instinct of killing, just for survival. This is a very subtle violence which comes also into that we do not really, should destroy the life.
Everybody can get in touch with other dimensions.
We are constantly in relationship with the universe. We are never alone, and if we take time to look and to listen, The universe is always communicating with us. And if we have a question or if we want confirmation, we can ask. And the universe will always respond.
Don't be attached to the outcome. Don't want or expect a certain outcome. That's what makes it difficult to communicate clearly with other dimensions and with beings from other dimensions.
Maybe you're driving your car and you switch on the radio, but you have the sudden urge and desire to switch to a different radio channel. And when you switch on the radio channel, there's a certain song and it's got a specific title, and you know immediately that is the answer to your question.
The
false world is left behind and I'm moving forward. And then it's like that which was impossible becomes possible.
When I was deciding to move from England to Portugal,